Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast, your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Randy Hilarski. You might know him from Twitter, where he has 15,000 followers. He's based in Panama. We've gone back and forth for probably 2 years straight. His website is nopermissions.com. We welcome Randy to the podcast.
Oh, thanks. About the Twitter thing, that's my second account. My first account got banned with about 35,000 followers, which really bummed me out. Banned from Facebook, banned from Pinterest. They loved me. I'm just a banned guy.
And did it say Randy as well, or what was the name of that one?
That one was Randy Hilarski. That was the official Randy Hilarski with the @ symbol. So that was really disappointing. And I've tried to get it back so many times. They're like, you will never get it back for violations. Like, just because I was anti-COVID, anti-vaccine, masks. So I had a hard time during the pandemic. And I vented on social media, and I lost all of my accounts because of it.
Okay, well, here's to like one day getting that back. But I guess maybe you use the same photo, because I think a lot of people will probably recognize your photo. If they don't, from just listening to the podcast, if you click the link in the description, you go check out his Twitter account, you'll probably recognize it. It's like black and white with the glasses. Anyway, let's get into it. So I know you're big on crypto, Pulse Chain, all these different chains and stuff. That's not what we're going to talk about today primarily. I thought it'd be more fun to talk a little bit about Panama. You seem to be a Canadian or American expat living in Panama. I would love to kind of hear about your experience, what life's like, and maybe we'll kind of kick it off with some of that stuff. How's that sound?
Yeah, great. And it sounds kind of funny that you say American Canadian, because I grew up on the border. I'm from Rochester, New York, which is just next to Niagara Falls. So,
There you go.
we have that. We share a lot of the same words and a lot of the culture as the Canadians there and that part of the country. That's so funny.
Good. Niagara Falls is Buffalo Sabres your hockey team?
Well, not anymore. Yeah, I don't really watch sports that much, but when I was a kid, definitely it was the Sabres and the Bills. And I'm going home in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go watch the Rochester Amherst play. So take my kid to his first hockey match.
Good. So upstate New York playing hockey. Now we're down in Panama. Do you say where you're at? Are you in Panama City? Are you in Boquete? Where are you at?
No problem. I'm totally doxxed, man. When you're a crypto founder, you're doxxed. So I'm here in Panama City, in El Congrejo, which is probably the most famous neighborhood for expats. Totally walkable bars, tattoo parlors, and tons of restaurants. It's where I want to live. My wife doesn't want to live anywhere else. We got the metro within walking distance. So, you don't even need a car if you live in this neighborhood, but we do, but you don't need
one. Okay. So right in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. I love my coffee shops, man. We probably spend 2 hours a day at a coffee shop, just doing our work, getting our socials done, responding on Telegram and wherever other platform we need to respond on. So that's our little work thing each day. And I do my live streams and podcasts like this. I'll come home and I'll use my computer here. Yeah. Most of the time we're out of the house. We love to be out in the neighborhood.
And I'm sure your American friends say, what's Panama like? Describe it for me. How do you describe it?
Well, I've been here since 2011. I started coming. My first time in Panama, I was actually stationed here. I was in the U.S. Navy in '97, right before we closed the U.S. bases down. So I'm one of those old school Americans that lived here before the handover of the canal to the Panamanians. I've been all over the world. Okay, my ex-wife was Ethiopian, and so I used to go to Africa all the time, and I lived in Europe for many years. But there's just something about this little tiny country that every time I fucking get off the airplane, I want to kiss the ground. It's just so relaxing, and it's so chill. Nobody bothers me. I yell at the cops. The cops don't yell at me. I'm not worried about sirens behind me when I'm going down the road. If I get pulled over, I tell the cop, give me the ticket. Or if I'm in that mood, maybe I'll pay it off. I don't know. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in, right? Just tell the cop, here's $50. There's just something about life in a country where you're on your own, really. If you don't have a support structure here, if you don't have family, I'm lucky I do. My wife's Panamanian. but if you don't have the support structure here, you're totally on your own. And the good thing is, if you're self reliant and you know how to do things, life can be wonderful. But if you're from a socialist system, which many of us come from, if we're European, Canadian, Americans, especially American veterans, because if you spend 20 years in the military, might as well. That's 100% socialism, right? Then you come somewhere like here, and you just have to do it on your own. There's no help. There's no safety net. There's no welfare. There's none of that. So you really have to put your big boy pants on when you move to Latin America. But Panama gives you lots of opportunities. Super fast internet, so you can start a business. The people are very friendly. Banking's pretty well open. Again, for about 10 years, it was difficult for Americans here. You couldn't get a bank account. They didn't want us. They're like, get the fuck out. You guys, there's too many issues after the Panama Papers. I remember, if you remember 2016 when that went down. But it wrecked a lot of businesses, including mine. I had a tour business that we had to shut down. I'm sorry if my voice is a little bit low. I've got a congestion in my chest. I've been fighting for a week. Um, but yes, Panama is a wonderful place with sweet people. I love the Panamanian culture. My son's Panamanian now. He's American Panamanian. We'll always live here. I'll never move back to the U.S. I can't imagine when I travel to the U.S. It's just a heavy burden for me. I could never do it. Never live there again. My wife, we made an agreement that she'll never be a U.S. citizen for
Mm,
tax reasons, right?
mm.
So she's the sugar mama. I'm just the poor white boy down in Panama. We call ourselves Panagringos. You got your chanclas on, your shorts, and your t-shirt, and you're running around. Everyone thinks you're poor. That's the way. That's the way I think most gringos should live. And if you don't want to live like that, you want to live the high life, then go live in some secure neighborhood um, behind a wall. That's how they seem to like to live on the beach areas or up in Boquete or a place like that. Me, I want to live amongst the Panamanians. I want to have a relaxed life. I want my kid playing soccer or football, if you want to call it, with the locals. We just got home from soccer practice. Just chill life. I
Integrated,
wouldn't want it any other way.
integrated life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, if you move to another country, get involved with your local community. It's really sad to see when you see the expats. So many of them, they move to another country and they just hang out with Americans or they hang out with Canadians, and they're the whiniest group of people. I know I'm going to piss some people off, but I've been doing this for 14 years. Plus, I did another 5 years overseas when I was in the Navy, and when you get a bunch of Americans living in another country, all they do is fucking complain. And
Hmm.
oh, I wish they had that. I wish the roads were better. I wish the customer service was better. You know, not me. No, I'm fine with the way it is. If I wanted that, I'd move back to the U.S.
Let's go into that a little bit. Tell me about the calculus for you about not wanting to live back, move back to the U.S.
Yeah, I'm a one who believes in freedom. I believe in the Second Amendment. Here in Panama, you can own a gun. It's not a problem. Uh, as long as you have your cedula. Once you become a Panamanian resident, you can own a gun. Uh, the freedom of movement here, where people don't mess with you. The cops, they're pretty laid back. Uh, I would never, on purpose, walk up to a police officer in the U.S. and start a conversation. I do it all the time here. Like, hey, teniente, ¿cómo estás? Just start a conversation with one of the cops in the neighborhood. I want them to know my face. I want them to know who I am. I want them to know who my son is. Right? And he's out there walking around. Maybe you have some creeps, and the whole neighborhood takes care of each other. I'm not saying that the safety uh, is wonderful ever since the massive migration that's been coming from the southern countries, Venezuela and Colombia coming through the Darien. Safety has gone down a little bit in Panama City because a lot of those people they don't have
Mm,
money to go any further north, so they
mm,
get stuck here. So our homeless numbers have gone up a lot,
mm,
but uh, as far as safety compared to where I'm from, Rochester, New York, Rochester is rated as one of the most dangerous cities in the United States now, where I grew up. My old high school is just a mess. I talked to my best friend who still lives in Rochester. He's like, man, dude, our old stomping grounds are just a disaster. The city's got so many problems and murders and theft and all that kind of stuff. I don't worry about that here. If it's a theft here, it's petty, right? Or they might try to take down a bank, but they don't go in there guns blasting, that kind of thing. I don't know why I even brought that up, but because it was a bank robbery recently, and I know Americans, whenever they think about moving here, or Canadians especially, how's the safety? How safe is it? That shit drives me nuts. I've never had an issue. I've never been robbed. Um, the worst thing that happened to me is my old house. Somebody stole a screen off my side of my house. Maybe they needed it for their window. That's the worst thing that's ever happened to me as far as theft in Panama. And that was about 10 years ago. So I think it's ridiculous the stuff that people say about the safety concerns. I think it's the media that gives these people this image that it's
Mhm.
unsafe in Latin America. I just got back from Medellin. I went there for my birthday. Now, I did not feel safe in Medellin. I know there's a lot of people that say they're fine, but they don't have a 6-year-old. You know, walking around with a 6-year-old in Medellin, excuse me, is sketchy as hell. Especially in Poblado where we were. I thought Poblado was like a really safe neighborhood, but for me, it was like I had to keep my head on a swivel, and I didn't like. If you're single, great, go down, have fun, but I much prefer Panama. It's, it seems to be a better place for especially families.
Hmm. Tell me a bit more about that because we probably have some American families and retirees and stuff listening to this, and they probably want to hear that perspective on family friendliness.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's. We had our child here at not the public hospital, but there's another one. Uh, they get the name mixed up. I think it's the public hospital. But when we
Punta
had the birth,
Pacifica or something.
no, 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 not that one. Not Punta Pacific. That's super expensive. That one's ridiculous. It's like it would have cost us probably 30 grand to have the child there. But um, it cost us $5,500. This is 2018, mind you. $5,500. We had a suite. Um, the child, it was a C-section. Remember, I'm a nurse. I was a former psych nurse. We had in the operating room 4 doctors, my pediatrician for my child, and all the nurses. And in my head, I'm calculating the numbers. I'm like, how can they afford this? How can this be done? This makes no sense financially. How for $5,500 they could have all this staff in the room with us. And then we spent 2 nights. They didn't send us home immediately. You know, in the US, they stitch you back up. They're like, okay, you're good. Get the fuck out. Right. So we had 2 nights in this hospital in this suite. I slept on the couch. My wife was taken care of. Every hour, the nurse was in the room checking on my wife. And I told the nurse, I'm like, look, if there's a problem, I'll come get you. Like, no, no, no. We're going to come in. We'll come visit you guys for 2 days every hour. They're in the room. I'd never seen treatment like that. Yes, it's a private hospital. No, we did not use insurance. We paid cash, which is a great thing. So there was that. We chose to not vaccinate our child. So they,
Did you do vitamin K?
yes, we did a vitamin K. That was the only thing that they did, and
Okay.
they did that without asking me. So I was pretty
Yeah, they
pissed.
don't ask. It's weird. They just like, yeah, I don't even
Yeah,
know.
I was like, oh, I said to the nurse because I saw his foot had a band-aid on it. I said, what did you do? She goes, oh, vitamina K. Oh my god. Okay, all right. I'll let you get away with that one. So because they tried to give Max, our son, tried to give him a Hep B shot, uh, which made absolutely no sense to me. Uh, the only time in the U.S. that I know of that we get Hep B shots is when you're going into healthcare and working in healthcare. So you go to nursing school, you have to get 3 rounds of Hep B. And
Mhm.
I told my doctor, don't you freaking go anywhere near my son with that. He's not getting in contact with any drug users. He's not having sex with anybody that's got hepatitis. It's like, I'm like, he's pretty good. He doesn't need that B shot. So
Right.
yeah, turned all that down. And my doctor was very understanding, but it took us. We had to go through about four doctors, four pediatricians before we found somebody that would agree with us for that, because the law here is they want you to get vaccinated, but you have to find a really good doctor who will let you get it. And most countries are getting that way. So after that, we had a great life for the first couple of years, and then the pandemic happened. Had to move to Mexico. We were in Acapulco, Mazatlan, and had a good time in Mexico. Once things started lighting up here in Panama because they had full lockdowns, it was pretty bad. That's why we
Yeah,
had to
yeah,
move.
yeah. They were strict, eh?
Yeah, it was the worst.
Yeah.
And we were at the old Howard Air Force Base. That's where we were living at the time. And they had CCTV cameras everywhere. So they really had us locked down. It sucked. So those 2 years in Panama, I would rate Panama out of 10. I would give it a one. All right. Because it was pretty bad. But we wanted to come home. So Mexico, for some reason, when we first got there, was great. It was open, had fun, it was partying every day. We were hanging out with Jeff Berwick of Dollar Vigilante, who we were working with at the time. We were doing his social media.
Mhm.
And went up to Mazatlan, loved Mazatlan on the Malacan there. It was such a great time.
It's
It
a
was
great Malecon in Mazatlan.
it's such a
A little
badass
bit
place.
better than Panama City's, I must
Yeah.
say, but
Yeah.
there's some similarities.
Yes, similarities, except the traffic on the Malacan, because the road is right next to the sidewalk. So
Yeah,
it's like so loud, and the exhaust from the cars is kind of annoying. Panama's is where we got the grass in between, so it's a little bit more calm. But yeah, both beautiful right on the water. And at least in the Malacan, you can go swimming, and there's a couple of swimming spots. No swimming on ours because that's where the shit river goes out from the city.
right, right.
The sewage goes out, and you don't want to be swimming in that. So yeah, we came back to Panama after about 7 months in Mexico. We got denied our visas there. We thought we could stay, but we got denied. They wouldn't accept PayPal as proof of banking, which I thought was really weird. So if you guys are going to get your visa or to stay in Mexico, don't use PayPal. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Even though we had income way above what they needed, they wouldn't accept PayPal. So came back to Panama. Um, Everything was done with. There was no more lockdowns, so it was pretty free around.
By the way, bro, did you get Mexico residency eventually? Because
That's what we were trying to do. They denied us.
we could help you, bro. We could help.
I'm
Got
good.
allow me to shameless plug, while I get a chance, right?
Go ahead. Anybody wants
My
residency?
My Latin Life, full scale immigration firm. We can get you residency in any country in Latin America. I'm talking to you, the listener. We've helped dozens of people, families, retirees, digital nomads get residency in Mexico and Panama. So I have my Panamanian cedula. By the way, I'm a permanent resident of Panama,
Oh, cool.
and then I have Mexico residency as well. I'm calling in from Mexico right now. So for the audience, just so you guys know, we have those services. But sorry, continue. So you
Yeah,
had to go back to
smart play on your part. Look, guys, get as many residencies and second passports as you can. I'm going to tell you a quick tip. The quick tip is if you want citizenship in another country, go ahead, make a child in one of those countries, have the child in that country,
hmm
and you will qualify. I am qualified for my Panama citizenship this year. I'm on a list of 5,000 people that are waiting for their citizenship. So hopefully President Molino gets to mine soon.
You already applied.
Yeah, I'm already through everything. I just have to get I have to take a test, swear, swear to the Panamanian flag or whatever it is, and then I'm good.
Okay, this is a whole rabbit hole of Panamanian citizenship that I would love to get into with you, but maybe I'll let you kind of finish the story first.
Sure, sure. So, um, uh, my son, we homeschool. So if you guys are looking to thinking about moving to Panama, I'm going to tell you right now, the education system is terrible, 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 terrible. Panama is one of the worst in the whole world for public, and the private isn't much better. These kids are it's just a mess. My kid's so far ahead of his peers. He's 7. He'll be 7 in January, but he's already at a second or third grade level for most of his stuff. And his peers are, because I think mostly because of the pandemic, they're still
Mm.
at like kindergarten, first grade levels, especially with their speech patterns, learning to write and basic stuff like that. And forget about reading, right? They're just in big trouble. So we homeschool, spend about 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and that's all he needs. Um, got him in football. He plays with locals, he's bilingual. Uh, just now, like a month ago, got him his U.S. citizenship, and that was only because we weren't going to do it. That was only because my parents are getting older,
Uh-huh.
and
To be able to visit.
to be able to go see them. Right, so that's we're going home for Thanksgiving. We're gonna start making that a tradition to go home for Thanksgiving. I didn't want to, man. I fought, and he's almost 7 now, so I did a good job, put up a good fight. But eventually, when grandma's like, "Oh, I wish I could see you guys," because she doesn't want to fly down here anymore and deal with being in the wheelchair going through the airport and that kind of stuff. She doesn't want to
Yeah,
do that shit.
yeah.
So I said, "Okay, okay." And the last time we saw them, we had to fly up to Toronto, go to Niagara Falls. They came across the border to see us because my son doesn't have a visa, and they won't give him a visa because he's a son of a U.S. citizen. It's a stupid rule the U.S. has. It's a real pain in the
Is that a
ass.
thing?
Yeah, that's absolutely a thing. Will
That
not give
children
you.
of US citizens can't get the 10-year tourist visa?
No, can't get it. We tried. So when my wife got her visa, it was so funny. She went to the embassy. She got her 10-year visa. They approved her, and she goes, "I have some good news. I have some bad news." They gave me mine, but they said Max cannot have it since you're his father. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's like, okay.
Well, that is half decent news because one, Panama just got visa free to Canada like this year, correct?
When we did it, we still had to do the visa.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw that Canada just gave visa free access to Panama, Costa Rica, Uruguay, and Argentina,
Well, that's
something
that's
like
good
that.
news, so that we don't have to apply for another one.
Yeah. But it's also interesting that you were able to get, that your wife was able to get a tourist visa to the US. Because I know if you state that you're married to a US citizen, oftentimes they'll deny you the tourist visa and say, no, you have to do the marriage visa or something like that because they think you'll stay.
Mm, mm. But okay, so the first time we applied, they denied her, like you're saying, right? The second time we had um, a car, we had the car note, we had a bunch of other expenses for staying in Panama,
Hmm.
and had money in the bank. So it didn't. When we first did it, we were just broke. When I first moved to Panama, our first 3 years we struggled, and they denied us at that time. Now far from that, and they approved it no problem. So yeah, that's a thing, man. So if you guys have a child outside of the United States and you try to go back with that child with a passport of that country the child was born in, they will deny you.
Yeah. And so the way around it is to have them be born in a country that at least has visa free access to the US.
Yes,
So
that's the only way around.
Europe or Canada or um, things like that.
Yeah, go to
So,
Spain, have the baby in Spain,
yeah.
and because the mom is still Panamanian, she can still get the Panamanian passport. I don't know if okay, I don't know what Spain's rules are. I just said Spain. Maybe Spain doesn't allow that. Maybe they don't allow anchor babies, but maybe they do.
They don't. The one of the parents has to be a resident in Spain for at least 1 year or something like that for the baby to get the
Well, that's good
Spanish
to know.
passport.
So think about these are things to think about ahead of time. So all of you out there who are thinking about getting a second passport, and you're young in your 20s, and you have a spouse or you're looking to get a spouse, think about these things ahead of time. So
If
start.
you're
It's like
looking to acquire a spouse.
well, that's what we
Yeah.
do, right? That's
Yeah,
what we
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
They call us passport bros, right? At least that that's I was one of the passport bros before that was even a term. So
Yeah,
my
you're in the
ex-wife was
Navy, man. You
yeah,
were
yeah. My
swashbuckling.
ex-wife was Ethiopian. I went to Ethiopia and got married. So I was doing that shit back in the early 2000s. It was right after 9/11 when I went to Ethiopia. So yeah, you're looking about doing something like that. Think about these ahead of time. And like if you want a Colombian wife, for example, a lot of people like Colombians. Go down to Colombia, find a Colombian wife, tell her, look, we're going to move to Spain for a couple of years. Let's get a residency, pop out a baby over there, get that Spanish passport for the baby, get the Colombian passport for the baby, and you get the
Uh-huh.
U.S. passport or the Canadian one.
Right. And this is only, by the way, to clarify for the audience, an issue if you don't want to give your child US citizenship because you don't want to burden them with citizenship based taxation. Obviously, you can transmit citizenship to your kids if you were born in the US. Um, where it gets trickier though is because I was not born in the U.S., but I have U.S. citizenship because one of my parents is American, and so I got it through them, and so I have to have lived. Um, so for me to transmit it to my kids, I have to have lived 5 years in the
Yes,
United States, and I
it's
have
on
to
the
be able
paperwork.
to, and I have to be able to prove with like flights and like any proof that I have old photos, etc., that I've been physically present in the U.S. more than 5 years in my life, and it's tricky because it's tricky. But anyway, that's because I wasn't born in the U.S. So
Or you could join the
easy.
military. If you join the military, that's why the guy just stamped it real quick and said, "Okay, you're good. You're in the military. That counts. You're definitely an American citizen." So
Mm,
that was a quick way around it. So go do a couple years in the military and you'll have it. You'll qualify.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. So many directions we could go with this now. I do want to talk about Panamanian citizenship. Maybe that can come slightly later. Tell me more about like Panamanian people. I know you said, people are chill, you enjoy talking with them. I did kind of want to get back to that, and just kind of your sociological observations of Panamanians.
they're they're definitely a tight knit group. You okay? So you come here, you're not going to be accepted into the Panamanian circle. It's just not. That's not the way it is.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holtze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond 20K a month. So, what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non technical roles. So, no, it's not just for the nerds. So, if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with job stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of job stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible.
How you get accepted is through family, easiest way. And number two is probably through work if you have a job that you start getting invited out to lunch or those kind of things. That definitely helps, like typical relationship building. Just going to the coffee shop. Like I'm a regular at the coffee shop. Everyone knows us now. They come up, they shake our hands. They obviously everyone knows who I am after all these years. I'm pretty famous in crypto, so they everyone shakes my hands when they come and they see me. Oh, Randy, I know you. I'm a big fan. Da, da, da. You know, it's always that. Or they've seen some of my TikToks. You know, I've had TikToks that had like 700,000 views, and go, they're like, "Oh man, you're the guy that was on the roof." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." You know,
Are the
so
TikToks about Panama or about crypto?
Panama.
Oh, okay, cool. Shit, I
Yeah,
haven't done my research.
yeah, Panama TikToks. So TikTok works funny. If you have a TikTok about the local country that you're in, and I think they somehow the algorithm tells everybody in that local area uh,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
you have a new video, and it just went crazy, man. It
It's like,
was
look how this gringo experiences our country, that kind of
yeah,
vibe. And all the
and they were
comments are like
they're so happy
Panamanians.
about it. People see me at the mall. Oh, I loved your video. I loved it. They're so proud, right? They're very proud people. Small. Panama's very small. So you got Panama City, which is a little over the half of the population. There's 4.5 million people in Panama. About 2.5 million live just within 20 miles of the city.
Hmm.
So it's pretty small, and the city itself is tiny. If there's no traffic, which 90% of the time there is, if there's no traffic, I can get across the city in 5 to 10 minutes. It's that easy. It's so teeny tiny. Even with the metro, our metro is unbelievable, brand new. It takes you all the way to the airport now. So,
Hmm.
for 25 cents, you go from the airport down to the center of the city in 30 minutes. It's really nice. But the people, it takes time. They have a wall. Unlike Mexicans, you could befriend a Mexican in a second. It seems like they're very open
Hmm.
and very friendly. Panamanians are not. Take time to get used to.
They are
Usually,
slightly ruder.
yeah, yeah, they're more like New Yorkers in that. I'm from upstate New York, and I know downstate they're a little bit more rude. So that's just normal. Now, different parts of the country are different. If you go to the interior and you're going to David or Penanome, some of the smaller towns, they're very open and very friendly. These are, I don't want to call them country bumpkins, but we call them cholos here for a reason. it's country folk, man. They're just
Hmm.
open and friendly. That's just how it is. If you go over to Cologne, we used to have a beach house over in Cologne and loved it. Now the the Afro Panamanians,
Hmm.
most of them know some English because their parents worked in the Panama Canal. They were brought to Panama to build the Panama Canal. So they were Jamaican and Barbados people who came here to do this. They were educated, they were doctors, they were engineers. These people are a totally different group than what you see here in Panama City. So generally the conversations are a little bit deeper, and I loved having conversations with the folks over on that side, and the food over there I think is 10 times better because it's got the think of Jamaican food.
Creole type,
Yeah.
yeah, spices. Yeah.
Oh man, lobster with all these different spices on it. You're like, I've never had lobster like this before. What the hell is this? This is amazing, and the fish and all that. So I much prefer the Caribbean side, but most expats can't hack it because it is more dangerous, right? It's more sketchy. You need to know where to go. You need to know people. And my old tour company, VIP Panama Tours, 95% of our tours were Caribbean side. I take people out to the catamarans. They go out to the
Sandblast.
do the sandblast stuff, the beaches, which are absolutely gorgeous. So that's where we would spend most of our time. So I got to know the operators over there. I got to know who the good folks were, and it's wonderful. It's too bad that we lost our beach house. Um, just it wasn't titled, so I wasn't able to buy it. Somebody else came in and bought it. That's a big problem here in Panama for property. A lot of the land is not titled. So, as Americans and Canadians, we're used to, oh, I'm going to go buy a piece of property. You're not when the paperwork goes to the titling company, you don't worry at all about it, right? But here, you actually have to have somebody go inspect to make sure it's titled properly, make sure the land is drawn up properly, and that kind of stuff. So, it gets real sketchy real quick. And then you got places like Bocas del Toro, which is up on the Costa Rica border near Panama Viejo, or not Panama Viejo, Puerto Viejo,
Puerto.
Costa Rica.
Mhm.
On that side, gorgeous, gorgeous area, but it sometimes it doesn't feel like real Panama. It's just the island vibe, right? You got tons of the bohemian type people that are just there. Hey, let's get high all day, go swim, go hang out, drink coffee, and that seems to have taken over the Bocas del Toro area. Nice hotels, nice place to go visit, but I would never want to live there. We just go for just for a couple days for beach time. But that's it for the country. Down to the Darien is just too dangerous right now.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
there's
stay
nothing
away from
there,
it.
at
But
least from like a live. There's nothing there for like living.
no,
I mean, like
just the
lots of
jungle.
toucans and stuff, but yeah. Um, would you ever do Boquete and Volcan and live kind of in the coffee region?
I don't like too many expats.
Hmm.
Yeah, we go visit, and I don't even enjoy the visits really. You go every restaurant you go to is full with expats, and you hear English everywhere, or German or Dutch, and like it's been found. It's super expensive. You know, uh, the locals hate us, right? The Indians, the local Indian tribe, they absolutely hate the Americans there. Uh, they resent them because why would you like them? You work, you pick coffee all day. You know, you make $400 a month, and here's this gringo sitting at a restaurant. They just spent $150 on a meal, and you're making $400 a month picking that coffee. So I could see the resentment why they're angry. Um, every time I go up there, I always feel that tension, and I don't want to be around tension.
Really?
Yeah, it's the Nagobi Indians.
Uh
Nothing
huh.
against the Nagobis; they're hard workers. Um, it's just that they're underpaid. Picking all that coffee because they're the only ones that do it. They're the masters. They're the coffee makers or the producers. They're the ones that do the hard work. Not it,
Hmm.
the American farmer isn't the one picking the beans, right? He's not doing it. He's hiring the locals, and the Nagobis are the ones that do it.
Yeah, Panama actually has a lot more Native American or indigenous influence than I think people realize.
Oh, big time. We got two big comarcas. Comarcas are you can't call them reservations because it's
Yeah.
actually a country. That's their country. It's within Panama, though. See, Panama, people think Panama is just this, just like a regular country with different districts or different states. But two of the states are comarcas, and one is the Nagobi that's up in near Buquete and on the Caribbean coast, going up to Bocas del Toro. So you'll see those people. You'll recognize them once you understand the culture. You'll recognize them as Nagobis, the way they dress. Um, then you have the Cunayala, which is on the other side, going all the way down to Colombia, and they own
Hmm.
all the islands. Absolutely beautiful islands, crystal clear blue water. They would be like think of a Polynesian island chain. That's what it's like. Same thing. They're water faring people. They're fishermen, and they live in tiny little huts, like these grass huts on these islands, and uh, they have lots of crazy rules. Like the women, if if they ever take off their beads that they wear, they lose all of their rights to their properties back home. So the women are, you know, you'll see them around Panama City all the time, dressed up in their traditional clothes because they have to keep them on. They can't start wearing Western clothes, or else they lose their rights to their home or their land back home. And then we have the Wunan, the other Indians that live along the Rio Chagres, the rivers, and these are the people that live on the inland. So you'll find them in the forest. They have these nice little towns. You can do like tours out there and stay with them for the day. They do all kinds of dances and stuff, and they're I would say they're the friendliest bunch. They're very they understand the tourism thing to the hilt, man. They really get it. They're like, hey,
Hmm.
come visit, come visit today. We only charge you $100 per person, So come experience indigenous culture living in the jungle, and they'll show you how to go fishing, that kind of stuff. Um, and then also the Cunayala, they're definitely pros at the tourism side. And, come bring your catamaran here, drop your anchor, come have a meal, those kind of
Hmm.
things, or come stay in one of the huts. They got a couple hotels now that they built, but getting out there is rough. Um, excuse me. You can either hire a catamaran to take you out, or there's a road that you have to take that's just like, if you don't have a Toyota Land Cruiser, you're probably not making it out there. That's how bad the road is. To be able to get to the port, that's going to take you.
I follow this Instagram page that's called like Passion Off Road. And it's just all these videos, and like legit half of them are from Panama, and then the other ones are from like Honduras and stuff. And it's just Hiluxes and different Toyotas just traversing these like muddy roads that like normal car, or going across a river, and they like drive the truck across the river, and like half the time they make it, half the time they don't, it gets stuck. It's like a great little Instagram channel.
These
It
people,
makes me
they have so
laugh.
much fun. It's like a whole thing here in Panama with the 4x4ing. People love it,
Uh-huh.
man. It's a whole hobby. We went to the car
You'll see
show.
them in the city a bit, right? Like you'll
Oh
see
yeah,
them come into the city, and they still just covered in
covered in mud.
mud. These trucks, and they get the stickers on the window and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. They were pushing it hard yesterday. I was at the car show, and those little Suzuki Jimmies, those little tiny Suzukis. They
Uh-huh.
don't sell them in the States, but they sell them here. They're so popular for the off-roaders. And they saw the big old the Jeep Wranglers, and they had all the big wheels and the tent equipment on the top of them. And I was like, oh, I know who they're trying to to market to. Yeah, like my truck, I got a Volkswagen Touareg, which is the biggest Volkswagen there is. It's the one that won the Dakar Rally multiple times. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't take my truck up on those roads. Fuck that, man. You better have some big ass wheels with some huge tread, because I don't know most people have probably haven't seen Latin American soil, but it's clay. It gets very
Mm,
slippery. It's not like dirt like we have back home. It's not even rocky. It's just clay, and it's so slimy and slippery. So be a tough off roading event. You need a bunch of friends with cables that can pull each other out,
yep.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And for people who have been to uh, the off-road embassy, I believe it's called, they help people
Mhm,
transport the vehicles in the containers from
mhm.
Panama to Colombia, because obviously you can't pass, and a lot of people are doing the Pan American Highway to do both continents. And I went and I visited the off-road embassy, and they had all these old school Toyota Forerunners. Is it the Forerunner? No, Land Cruiser.
Land cruisers.
They had all these old school Land Cruisers from the 80s and the 70s and stuff like that, fixing them up. And they said a lot of them they were going to flip and sell in the US.
I believe it. I believe it. The guy I bought my truck off of, he's uh, Autoletem is his business, and he'll import anything you want, and he'll send it all over the world. And his name's Alex. During the pandemic, I'm like, look, man. I said I want to pay with crypto because I could pay with crypto with him. So I paid 100% with USDC. If anybody knows what the hell that is. And I said, I want to load it up R line Touareg. I said, get it for me. I said, I want silver. He found one, right? He ended up being in Sweden. He got it to me. It took like 6 months to get here because it was during the fucking pandemic, man. And it was the whole problem with the shipping containers where the ships were getting stuck at ports. My truck was stuck in
Mm,
Cartagena for like 4 months in the container. It was rough. But Alex, he has one of those rebuilt Forerunners, or I mean, Land Cruisers from the 70s.
uh-huh.
And his is yellow. He's got it lifted to the max, and it's just the coolest looking Jeep around. He's so proud of it, and he takes it off roading and stuff. But yeah, those old Land Cruisers, you can't kill them, man. They're great vehicles.
It's pretty sick. Yeah, I want one for sure. I think what I'm going to do, if and when I do the Pan American Highway, is I'm going to buy it in Panama, because people say a lot of people who are either doing it on a motorcycle or in a car, they sell them in Panama because they don't want to pay the $3,000 to $5,000 to cross to Colombia or vice
Right.
versa. And so it's like one of the best places to pick up a an overlanding vehicle is in Panama.
Yeah, it'll be a good deal. People banning shit here all the time. It's just normal, and that's another business idea for anybody who's looking to move to Panama. I'll give you a great business idea. Hook up with all the expats. Expats, I would give them about 30% chance of surviving Panama and actually staying here, right? Most can't hack it. So that's 70%. They come here, they buy furniture, they load up their house, they spend all this money here. They have cars, and just be the guy that everyone comes to when they want to leave to sell you all their shit so you can just turn around and flip it. Just be that guy. Get yourself a small little warehouse and just put everything in
Hmm.
there and just put it up on Facebook Marketplace and sell to all the expats where the new ones coming in. Hey, you want some secondhand furniture? And triple, quadruple your money each time. It's just a great business because that's where the only Americans, Canadians, and Europeans that have been successfully have moved here successfully and stayed are the ones who marry Panamanians. It's a hack. It's a hack because I don't do shit. My wife, she gets on WhatsApp. She gets on Signal to all of her friends if I need anything. If I need anything, I'm like, babe, I want to go see the cardiologist. I want to get my heart checked out. I haven't seen the doctor in 2 years. She goes, okay, babe, I'll get it scheduled. I don't do anything, man. She handles all the local stuff. I don't have to deal with all the bullshit.
Hmm.
It's that makes a big difference. So if you're not a local, you're not married to a local, then you've got to figure everything out. And Panama is not easy. It's like if I was to do if I was to rate it, if I was to give Mexico a score of 6 to move there for the ease of moving there, I'll give it a 6, right? Because it's not too difficult. But Panama, I would definitely give it a 9. It's like you need to be intermediate expert level of moving to a new country coming here.
And
Bureaucracy,
why is that?
it's the
Sorry,
bureaucracy. It's difficult.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, they just made a list of the top bureaucratic countries in the world, and Panama was number 3 on the list behind Brazil. I think it was Argentina number 2, and Panama was number 3 with the most bureaucracy. It's a pain in the ass. Hey, you got your cedula. You at least you experienced a little bit of it.
I've definitely seen a little bit of it.
It's tough.
I try to do it. I've just limit the trámites as much as I can. I think it's one of these things where it's like if you have a what do you call it, like dual culture household, or you have a spouse from Latin America, one of the age old questions is like, should we move to my country or should I move to her country? And it's like, well, if she moves to your country, if she moves to the US, you're gonna have to do everything because she's not gonna know how to sign up kids for school or
Right.
like coordinate like the electrician or like how things work in the US, how to, call insurance companies or whatever. Um, but if you go to their country, you go to Mexico, you go to Panama, they're just going to do everything for you and you don't have to deal with anything.
No, that's exactly what I've done. So what a lot of expats do is there's a runner system here. So you have a person that you just call them when you need them, and they're your runner, and they'll handle all of your business for you. You just give them a power of attorney. They'll run down. Well, you don't have to do it anymore, but we used to have to get new license plates every year. So you just
Hmm.
give your runner the ability to go down, get your new plates. He'll go stand in line for 3 hours to get you your new license plates. Now it's all electronic. You do it online, and you just go pick up your stickers. You don't have to get new plates. You just put a new sticker on. Getting very modern now. Things are finally starting to move into the 21st century in Panama. It's like when I first got here, you couldn't even pay bills online. You had to go wait in line to pay your water bill, pay your garbage bill, pay your electric bill. This is back in 2011, 2012. What a pain in the ass that was. Uh, and then it started changing slowly. And then the pandemic hit, and then everything was online. It was like overnight, everything went online. So
Hmm.
it's very much like the US now in that respect, but I still think it's quite difficult. It's definitely the best having a spouse
Hmm. Yeah,
in the
getting a
local
driver's license
from the
isn't
local
easy.
culture.
Okay, let's make sure we have time to talk about citizenship. I know a lot of people are going to be curious about this one.
Sure.
Tell as much as you're comfortable with, I guess. But obviously, the age-old narrative is that Panamanian citizenship is impossible, even if you spend the majority of the year there and have property there and have a business and every tie in the world. They're just not naturalizing anybody. Now, I have heard one or two anecdotes of people that say they've been naturalized, but um, maybe you could shed some light on the situation.
Sure. Okay, so there's been a big problem. There's now a backlog of 10,000 of us who are waiting for, I think maybe five or 10,000. There's a whole stack of us that are waiting for our nationalization. So the last two presidents, President Varela, we called him the Tortuga because he was so fucking slow, didn't do anything, right? And then we had Nito Cortizo, who was president during the pandemic, and he was just corrupt as hell. And he was sick the whole time. He's got cancer, so he didn't do much work when he was president. In Panama, you need to be signed off by the president to get your nationalization. So there's a whole stack of us that are waiting to be signed off by the president, and I'm one of them. Now, I've been waiting a year. I did my paperwork last November, so it's been almost a year. I had an
Hmm.
interview at the embassy, or not the embassy, but the immigration office. I had to write a whole paragraph of why I wanted to be Panamanian in Spanish. couldn't And I couldn't have any help from my lawyer, which my 3 years of Spanish in high school really helped with that because that's the first time I've actually written in Spanish in years. It was actually pretty easy because my vocabulary is much better now than when I was in high school. So I wrote a whole paragraph out in about 3 minutes, and so that's the step I'm at. So the next step is taking the actual test. You have to write a written test where A, B, C, or D Panama history.
Civic tests. Yeah.
It's a civic test, and then I have to be able to recite the national anthem,
Yep.
and then I get sworn in, and I just need the sign off by the president, which, uh, excuse me, President Molino has committed to getting all of us done while he's president. So
Really
we have 5 years
good.
now. So if you're looking to become a Panamanian citizen and you qualify, you can you'll be able to supposedly be done during this president.
And did you already do your civic test and everything?
No, I'm not worried about the civic test. They give you a excuse me, they give you a book with all the questions in it, and just
Sure.
learn them.
But I'm just curious how the steps work because just to so you understand, in Paraguay, you apply, you do the civic test, which includes the national anthem, and then they do a home visit, and then that's basically all the steps, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, and you're waiting years and years,
Mm.
right, to get signed off on. But are the way you're kind of saying it almost sounds is that the same, where it sounds like you get signed off on and then you do the civic test, or
No,
could you just
I have
clarify
to
the
do.
steps?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the message from my lawyer to go in and take the test. Then
Why is
once
it taking
that's
so long to schedule a test?
no idea. I've got no idea.
Okay.
So they got us all. We're all in a stack. We're all waiting for. Maybe they haven't given the test in a long time, but they said they're going to get to it. So that right now there's a backlog. I think it's like 7 years of people who have been, and that's why people say it's impossible to get Panama citizenship. It's not that it's impossible. It's the president and his people need to get off their asses and get it done. Because if you have a Panamanian child, you automatically qualify. You just have to have 3 years of residency.
All right.
So once you have that, you're good. You don't even have to have a Panamanian wife. All you have to have is a child.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
that's,
less. It's accelerated because normally it's 5 years.
oh shit, maybe it is, but I thought it was 3. I've been qualified for years. My lawyer used to write me all the time, Randy, why don't you come in and do your papers? You've been qualified. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing it. The real reason I didn't feel like paying her $2,500, right? Because I knew it was just going to sit on a desk and nothing's going to be done with it. But now it's all done. I'm just waiting. The ways to get citizenship here: you could be a resident. You have to wait 5 years. A full permanent resident, not a temporary resident. That part doesn't count because temporary
Uh-huh.
residence is 2 years here in Panama.
Uh-huh.
5 years for your permanent resident, then you qualify to apply to become a naturalized. So that's the step I'm at right now. And just patience, man. I'm in no hurry. I'm a U.S. citizen. I have a decent passport. Uh, my son has his Panama. My wife has that. The biggest headache is when we travel. I get the eyeball every time when we travel to Europe or the UK, because we go to the UK a lot. They look at our passports and like, why do you have a U.S. passport, and your family has Panama passports? They can't get it. They just don't understand. And I'm like, because we don't live in the U.S., we live in Panama. And for some reason, the Western mindset cannot comprehend that I did not bring them back to the U.S. They just can't get it, man. Like that makes no sense to us. Why would you stay in Panama? I'm like, apparently you've never been there. So if you come down, maybe you'll see why.
So, in your highly unprofessional two guys drinking beer opinion, could someone who has permanent residency for 5 years, but hasn't spent more than 6 months a year in Panama, such as myself, apply for citizenship successfully? Maybe if I increase my ties a bit and buy a condo or something, or do you think they're just going to be like, no, it's not enough?
That's a good question because you have to do a police report, and the police report's a local one. So if they see that you haven't been in the country, living here, maybe they won't let you do it. I would ask a lawyer about that one, local lawyer, because it's not going to be like Paraguay. Paraguay is they're very
Well,
liberal.
Paraguay has residency requirements too,
Oh,
actually.
they do. They make you stay in the country.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
interesting.
citizenship, for
Okay.
citizenship. So
All
I
right.
think, well, I my understanding is Paraguay actually has it like literally written in like a edict or whatever from the Supreme Court, like a certain number of days per year to
Okay.
qualify for citizenship. I don't think Panama has a days test that they employ. Obviously, any ties will help, right? But I think it's something that's subjective
There
on a
was
case
nothing
by
that
case
said how
basis.
many days were you here, and nothing in the paperwork for that. So yes, you're right about that. I'm just wondering when you do the police report and when you do your copies of your passport, and they see your ins and outs.
Uh,
Wonder if that's when it shows up. That would be the question I would have.
yeah,
Because
that's a good question.
they see your exits and your entrance stamps.
Yeah, because you have to like photocopy every page and
Every page.
notarize that and something like that.
Bureaucracy, man. That's the Panama bureaucracy. When I took it to the U.S. Embassy and I told them, and the U.S. Embassy thought I was nuts, right? I went to the U.S. Embassy and I said, "Look, I need every page notarized." And the lady's like, "The hell I'm doing that?" She's like, "I'm not doing that." And I said, "Look," I said, "They're requiring this," and we ended up figuring it out. So the person at the embassy, the boss of the U.S. side, he called the boss at naturalization for Panama, and I was the one that broke the camel's back. They said we are not going to require that they have every page notarized anymore. All they want now is copies with one notary. It used to be every page had to be notarized, but because the lady's like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. So I was like, okay,
It's
that's
just a
fine.
quick signature. You surprise anyway.
Yeah, I understand. For us, it seems pretty easy, right? But they still have to go through and copy every page, and still,
Yeah.
but only the one notary now instead of each page being notarized. The embassy, yes, I swear they get sick of my face because I'm always in there asking for stuff. But
That's
they know
funny.
me. So like when I went in for my US passport for my son, it was so quick. They're like, you know this fucker. Okay, here. Here, Max, here's your US flag.
They're
You're
like,
good.
finally, bro, you've been bugging us, and you know,
It's
okay.
so funny, man. It was so funny. The guy's like, yeah, your dad's here all the time. Here's your flag.
Cool. So sounds like things are looking up from citizenship and processing naturalization
I'll
cases
let you know
perspective.
immediately once I've got that. I'll DM you and say, hey, look, man, I got my interview. Whatever it's going to be. Well, I did the interview, but now the test's scheduled, and see if there's going to be maybe they'll have to do it at the convention center with 5,000 of us all at one time. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. So you'll do the test, and then are there any more steps, or you just wait for the citizenship certificate,
Yeah, just
basically?
wait for the signature from the president.
President signs, and then typically you get like a citizenship certificate,
And then I go to
and
the
then
passport office
and
and get
then
my
you do
passport.
the swearing in, and then you can order the passport. But it could be 2 years between the civic test and just like waiting for processing. That
I
is,
sure hope not.
who knows?
I mean, it's like throwing money out the window, really, if it is that way. because these lawyers aren't free.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, 10,000 people is not too bad. I would have thought it would have been well over 100,000 people waiting at this point.
Small country. It's too small. You know. Yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, there's also so many, whatever, like Nicaraguans and this and that have been living in Panama for so many years. So it's not all
Right.
gringo retirees and expats. It's actually more Central and South Americans than
Yeah.
anything,
I
probably.
will
And
bet you there's about maybe 300 Americans at the most. Not
really.
it like you said. We have tons of Nicaraguans here. They're generally the the maids and the nannies. That's the job that they do. It's so funny. Each country they I've never met a Honduran here, but that's definitely what Nicaraguans. We know what Colombians do. They're generally in industries where it's service oriented, whether it be in a restaurant or that type of thing. Venezuelans, they the ones here because Panama was one of the first places they escaped to, and they have a lot of high level jobs at banks and stuff like that. My friend Vanessa, she's like the lead person at the Uruguay embassy, and she's Venezuelan. So yeah,
Hmm.
interesting.
No, I love Panama, man. I think people don't understand Panama
Nope.
in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot. I think it has more cultural depth than people realize.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I will warn people here is when you do come here, you need to know who you're working with. People get ripped off all the time. So you really need to know a good lawyer who they could reach through you or me if they want. And just be very careful. Don't trust anybody with your finances down here. Don't give any money to somebody first and then hope that something gets done. Your money, you give your money, don't expect to ever see that money again. It's just, you hear so many stories. I saw a girl on TikTok recently complaining that she lost $32,000. Ouch, that hurts, So
For what?
she was coming down here and get her residency and her banking set up, and she trusted somebody to handle it all for her, that American way of thinking, and they
Mm.
made off with all of her money.
Okay, cool. I guess for anyone listening, there's basically like three really big Panamanian law firms that have been around for, 15 plus years. And we kind of have relationships with all three of them.
Perfect.
Um, so that's kind of what we do. And yeah, we can help people get residency in Panama. Um, there's lots of different paths, so people can book a call with My Latin Life to get your situation assessed, to build a holistic plan. And if you want Panama residency, we can kind of put a plan in place for that. Light question as we wrap things up, Randy. So I love Panama folklorico music, and the outfits and everything like that. I know I think it's called a polquera or something for
Pollera.
the
Pollera.
pollera. Yeah, pollera for the girls, and then the guys they have like an all white one with the little sombrero and stuff. Have you dressed up your son in the folklorico outfit and
I'll,
everything?
I'll show you. I absolutely we have. We just did it a couple weeks ago. It's awesome, and I know that you guys can't see it hear it.
On the audio only.
Yeah, it's audio only, but yeah, this is
Oh, that's so great, dude. That's so cool. That looks like it looks like a painting off the wall. Wow.
yeah. They did a great. The photographers did a great job. My wife and Max. It's so funny. He's gringo, but is he, he barely speaks Spanish just by choice. Only with his friends and with his abuela. At home it's all English. So it's so funny, man. But my wife is from the interior, and her family is originally from India.
Hmm.
So, but people who do not know, Indians live everywhere. They're always business owners. They're like the Chinese. They come, they start small businesses. And her family, they started businesses in Costa Rica. So both her mom and dad are Costa Rican citizenship as well, and they moved to Panama 40 years ago, before my wife was born or something, before her
Uh,
whole family, all the kids were born. And they bought a sugarcane uh, farm. They make miel de caña, which is like
uh,
molasses. So
mhm.
that's what their business was. They're molasses makers. And you know, her parents, they got married, they moved to the city, and so her dad is 100%. You look at him, you want to start saying some Indian words to him because he fucking looks Indian. He doesn't look Latino. But mom, she's 100% Chola. Interior, typical Latina from Costa Rica. But yeah, it's she's a nice mix. People look at her, they're like, sometimes they question whether she's Panamanian or not, and that's because she's got the Indian blood.
Yeah, I have met people don't realize like there are lots of Indians and Chinese really famous Chinese restaurants. So we'll get to wrapping up, Randy. I do have to get down to Panama at some point because you have to visit once every 2 years. So I'll hit you up. We'll get a Ron Abuelo and
Yeah.
hit the Chinese restaurant or something. All right.
Sure, I'll scoop you up at the airport. Just let me know when.
Cool, man. Any last message you want to share with the audience?
Sure. If you want to check out what we're doing, nopermissions.com is our website, but my Patreon is huge. It's patreon.com/no permissions. We've got 620 members now. Our first conference is in January. The only people that can come to the conference, they have to be a no permissions member. That was the only criteria that we set. So the conference is going to be for about 100 people. And my barber, he cuts the hair of Roberto Duran. So if you guys know who Roberto Duran is, the Hands of Stone, the boxer, we're working on getting him to come to the conference to shake hands, take pictures with everybody as well. He's my neighbor. I can actually look down at Roberto Duran's house right now from my house. So funny.
Okay, nopermissions.com.
Yep, nopermissions.com.
Sweet, Randy. Well, thanks for doing this and showing us kind of the other side. I mean, everyone probably knows you as the crypto guy, and to show us a bit of the Panama guy side of things, I think was a cool experience. So, really appreciate your time today. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. To everyone listening, please subscribe. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Randy. All podcast players, X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. Thanks to Randy. Thanks to the audience for listening. Ciao for now.
Cheers.
Hey guys, quick note at the end of the episode here. If you made it this far, you might be interested in working with My Latin Life personally to make progress on your internationalization plan. So whether the next step for you is getting residency in Latin America, lowering your taxes, choosing the best country, maybe a little birth tourism, whatever the next step is for you, of course, My Latin Life can help. We've helped people in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s, because I truly believe that Latin America has something to offer people at every stage of life. So if you want to become our VIP client, if you want to work with Vance, myself directly, book a call. There will be a link in the description. There will be a small fee for the initial consultation, and we do that to filter out the time wasters and focus on the best of the best clients. But if you're listening to this podcast and you made it all the way through the episode, I know you're the best of the best. But we're ready to work with you. So book that call. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Latin Life podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.